Hello everyone, this is Mr. Reina, and in this video I'm going to give you a brief overview of the app Zoom. And maybe you've heard of Zoom before. Zoom is really well known all over the world for its video conferencing capabilities. And because we are going to be shifting to more larger group classrooms with our shift in online learning, I really wanted to use Zoom because I do feel like it handles large group meetings much better than Microsoft Teams. I feel like that it has more features that make it more like a virtual classroom. It feels more like a classroom when you use Zoom. And I feel like once you get the hang of it, it's actually pretty user-friendly and that students can learn to use it very well. I have been using this app with my bilingual students in first and second grade, and I'm actually pretty surprised at how well they can use it. It has a lot of student-friendly features, and I think this is going to be better for us when we have larger classrooms. I'm going to demonstrate how to use the app from a student's perspective using an iPad, and then I'll demonstrate how to use it using a computer. I'm not using a PC, I'm using a Mac, but the process should be similar. It's really important before you join a scheduled call that you sign up for a Zoom account. You can either use your phone number or you can use an email address. I recommend using an email address, but you can use a phone number. If you don't create an account, you can still join a meeting, but it will ask you to verify your phone number. And if you're doing that right before a meeting, like a minute before the meeting is supposed to start, it could cause you to be late to the meeting. So I want you to try to make sure that you're able to join the meeting as soon as the meeting time is ready. So please watch this video to get a good idea of how Zoom works and how you can use it to join your meetings with me and any other teachers that may use it. Thank you very much. So this is what Zoom looks like when you first open the app on an iPad. I assume it works similarly for an Android tablet, okay? So there's a few options you have. You can join a meeting, and if you click on that, it will ask you to put in a meeting ID. But first, I would like you to make sure you have already signed up and you are signed in to Zoom. Okay, so I'm going to click cancel, and then I'm going to click sign in at the bottom right, and then it's going to ask me to sign in with my login stuff. So I've already have my account created, and you can do Face ID if you have one of the newer iPads. Okay, and so this is what it looks like here. I'm going to click on the top right square. I'm going to click join, and I'm going to have join a meeting with Mrs. Reina. Okay, Mrs. Reina is going to be the teacher, and I'm going to be the student. So this is what it will look like for you. She gave me what is called a meeting ID. A meeting ID is a specific number that you will use to connect to a meeting. So the ID that she gave me was 601-880-8694. Okay? Once I've got that entered in, I'm going to click join. Now you will see when I click join, it's not going to make me join the meeting right away. It's going to put me into a waiting room. So basically, I have to wait for Mrs. Reina to admit me into the meeting. So if she's already meeting with another student and we need to wait until they're finished, you're going to be put in the waiting room. So you won't be joining right away. You have to wait for Mrs. Reina to accept you into the meeting. So there's my screen right now, and it's going to connect. And see, now we're in the waiting room. Okay, so it's kind of like you have to wait until the teacher or host is ready. Okay, so she's going to eventually let us in when she is ready. Okay, now she's entered the meeting, so I'm going to click on use internet audio. Mrs. Reina, can you hear me now? Okay, and I can hear Mrs. Reina. So, Mrs. Reina, I'm going to show a few features of Zoom from the student's perspective. So, I'm going to tap on my screen and show you around a little bit, okay? So right now there's just two of us, but whenever there's a bunch of people in a meeting, you can click on the left, and click on Gallery View, and it will show you all the people that are in the meeting at one time, okay? And then if you look at the top, there's mute, okay? But oftentimes, I know for when I have my meetings, I will be muting students a lot. So Mrs. Reyna, can you mute me, please? Okay, if you see at the top, it says you are muted. So, and now Mrs. Reyna can't hear me, okay? And usually there's a reason why we do that. I can unmute myself if I go back to the top, and now I'm unmuted. Mrs. Reyna, can you hear me again? Yes. Okay. All right, and then I won't ask you to do this very much, but you can share something with me right here. And then you can see all the people who are in the meeting right here. Okay, now if you go to where it says more at the top right, you can see a few options, okay? There's a little clap emoji, okay? Like say like, great, good job, or like there's a thumbs up emoji, like to tell someone you've got it. That's really good for like, let's say there's like 20 students in one meeting and Mrs. Reyna is talking. She's asking, okay, did you understand that? Did that make sense? Instead of everyone shouting out loud, yes, they could either give a thumbs up like this, or like I said, you can tap on that to give a thumbs up there. Some other options you have that I want you to be aware of. Raise hand is a really good one. So if I have a question, instead of unmuting my microphone or shouting out a question or something like that, or like let's say you want to sing a pattern for us or sing something for us, you can click on raise hand and Mrs. Reyna will see that. Now, if Mrs. Reyna doesn't want to, maybe now is not a good time to ask a question, and we need to move on, we don't have time for questions or something like that, Mrs. Reyna can lower your hand, and that basically means like we don't have time, we got to do it later. So Mrs. Reyna, can you lower my hand? Okay. And so she lowered my hand, so that's how that works, okay? So that's really good for like when you want to ask a question without shouting it out, okay? And that's basically all you need to know right here. Another really cool option that it's, it can be cool, but I hope don't let it get too distracting though. You can do what's called a virtual background, but I believe it's only for iPads that are the newer ones, okay? So if I click on virtual background, I can actually do this, watch. I can put a cool little background behind me, okay? Now, like I said, I think it's only on like newer iPads and newer devices with like special cameras. So it may not work for you depending on the device you use. You can also upload a picture, okay, if you want to. So I'm gonna go back now, go back to my normal background, okay? And Mrs. Reyna, can you share something on your screen with us real quick? So Mrs. Reyna is sharing her screen with us. Now, if you notice, her picture, the picture of her face is now down at the bottom right. But if I click on this plus button right here, I can again see my video in case I need to, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go back to that. And I think that is, sorry, I'm still trying to figure some of this out too. So I think I can request to draw on the screen. Now, it may depend on the permission given by the host, but if I take this, Mrs. Reyna, can you see that? Yes. Okay, but when we do that, make sure that you're only, you have to be given permission to do that, obviously, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go out of that, and I think that's everything we need to do for right now. Whenever it's time for you to leave a meeting, you can either do it yourself or the host can essentially end the meeting for you, okay? So I'm gonna click on, thank you, Mrs. Reyna, I appreciate your help. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave the meeting now. And now we're done, okay? So that's how that works on an iPad. I will also show how it works on a computer. It does work a little differently. I think for students, younger students, an iPad version of this is probably going to be the easiest way to do this, okay? But it's up to you how you do it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do it on a computer. So here is what Zoom looks like using a computer. And so I'm on the Zoom website right now. Zoom has a special Chinese website to use. And right now I'm already signed in. I'm not going to go through everything like I did on the iPad, but I am signed in already. And what I did is I clicked on join a meeting. Okay, and it takes me here. I'm going to enter the meeting ID. Remember, Mrs. Reina gave me an ID that for me to use to join her meeting. So I'm going to enter that in right now. Click join, and it's going to open up the Zoom app that you will need to install on your computer. Okay, it's going to, do you want to allow the page to open Zoom? Now, I have the US app. I think the Chinese app is different, but it should be pretty much the same process. It's going to connect me to the meeting. And we are now in the waiting room again. And as soon as she lets us into the meeting will start. Okay, so now we're in the meeting. I'm going to join with audio. Okay, Mrs. Reina, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and can you see me now, Mrs. Reina?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to go through everything we did on the iPad because it's pretty similar. The controls just look a little different. The chat function is a little bit easier to use on the desktop, the computer version. And so you can share stuff right here if you need to. Okay, there's a gallery view right there. You can make it go into full screen. If you need to mute yourself or unmute yourself, or if you need to stop your video, please only stop your video if there's something wrong or like you need to just kind of go off and do something for a bit. You need to have your video on the whole time. Okay, that's pretty much everything. It's a slightly different process on the computer, but it should still be pretty easy to use. All right, thank you very much for watching.